From a wide spectrum of fields, talking about current events and developments that affect our world. Together, let's analyze the latest news and developments on Global Newsmaker Focus every Friday night at 8 p.m. And now, I give you your host for Global Newsmaker Focus, Patrice Sheridan.
Welcome, everyone, to this November 10th edition of Global Newsmaker Focus on your contact.
Hi, Di. Good to see you.
Talk Radio, KGRARadio.com. Patrice Sheridan speaking. Our producer, Gill, will be joining us tonight, and also our news media consultant and analyst, Billy Elkins, will be joining the program. Also, questions from our KGRA chat room are most welcome. On this Veterans Day and weekend, we thank our veterans, our military servicemen and servicewomen, and their families for keeping our magnificent nation, the United States of America, free. Tonight's featured guest is Gill.
This is 7 years old. I think I got a new one.
Broussard, independent researcher on Planet X. Our guest website is planet7x.net. His YouTube channel is www.youtube.com/user/planet7x. Welcome, Gill, to the program.
Well, thank you, Patrice. I'm glad to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. It's an honor for us to speak with you. And of course, Bill, our producer, and Billy Elkins will be joining in the questions too throughout the evening. Now, the first question for me, Gill, is, Gill.
Okay, that's 7 years old, from what I can tell. Hang on.
Gill, can you describe how the ancient manuscripts of Chinese astronomers, accounts in the Bible, and Hebrew sources from Torah provide documented eyewitness accounts of the passing of this planet or comet?
Yeah.
Yes, it was startling to me that these stories in the Bible actually ended up being actual, observed accounts of a passing of a comet.
Hey, Vas, good to see you.
Object. My research was based and started on a white paper report. It's called the Evaluation of East and Western Records of the Supernova of 1054. This is out of the Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies. And what it ends up, the short of it is that the supernova was actually seen a few months earlier, and that this paper is bringing out and pointing to that whatever object they saw for 26 months during this time frame, which is framed in this white paper report, was not a supernova because it moved through multiple constellations. Supernovas are stationary; they don't move. So here's an object that's moving through multiple constellations and was viewed for 26 months, 13 months coming in.
I like this sort of stuff.
And 13 months leaving. That is a very large object because the telescope was not invented yet. This is naked eye observation.
Boy, impressive. Now, Gill, why do you term this celestial body Planet 7X rather than Planet X or Nibiru?
Good question.
Because the hard evidence that we're finding, not hearsay, I didn't want it mixed up with all the false claims that are associated with the normal term Planet X. Even though this is Planet X, but you want to segregate the data on who's saying what and when and where's their sources. So if you want to talk about the actual white paper reports and how we have models that are mirroring the biblical accounts, this is the same model of the Chinese Asian records. This is the same model that is mirroring 14 of the biblical accounts. So I called it Planet 7X, which is roughly the size of it. Somewhere between 5 to 7 times the diameter of Earth is what I roughly estimated to be. So I like the number 7. So I put 7 in the title.
Okay, excellent. Now, Gill, do you believe that the Earth will intersect the orbital path of planet 7X in the month or week of Passover,
Yep.
and then a second time,
Hello.
150 to 153 days later, per the historic model? The
Yes,
historical model, pardon me.
yes, we have hard evidence. The white paper report gives us this entry and exit. And what was startling about this of the results was something that I first went into denial and tried to find the Achilles heel or find errors to prove it wrong. That this object crosses Earth's path twice. As it's entering, it's crossing, and then when it rounds it,
Did it cause Noah's flood? I hope he answers that.
sun, it crosses Earth's path the second time. The second time it crosses Earth is during the months of March, April, usually mid Passover month, which would be toward the mid of the Hebrew month. This is a common factor throughout the scriptural records, in the Hebrew text as well. You know, it's just a common factor that this is where it crosses.
And Gil, correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe I noted my question incorrectly, that when we mention it intersecting Earth's path in the month or week of Passover, that will be its second passage.
Correct. That's when it's on its way out, is where, which is also what's mentioned also in the book of Revelation. When it's crossing the first time, Earth is not in that particular month, which is going to be towards the calendar on the orbital path of Earth is stationary. It's Earth moving through those positions that gives us the date that we're in at present. You see, so Earth can be in some other reference point, but it's entering, it's crossing over the point in reference in space of probably the end of August. And then it goes around the sun, then when it's exiting, roughly around the end of March.
Come on.
Now, the Bible gives us clear reference that this next time it passes will be the worst time in all of Earth's history. And that's a scary thought.
It is, yeah.
Indeed, it is. Now, Gil, you note 3 important points in the transit when planet 7X pivots from the sun and its 2 crossing
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I think I read somewhere where it was the cause of Noah's flood.
points.
Or I got it off a link off Diane.
Also, am I correct that Earth's inhabitants won't realize the danger until very close in its approach? Do I have that phrase correctly?
Yes, because when you're dealing with visual sizes, for it to double in size, it has to get half the distance between its original sighting and what you're seeing, and now for it to double in size. So your exponential growth is in only the last week to 2 weeks of its approach. Okay. In other words, if this object, this comet/planet, is 7, and I say if because we don't know the exact size, that means at roughly 7 days away from Earth, visually, it would be 50% the size, 50% of the diameter of the moon. Then at 2 days approach, it would be 3.4 times the diameter of the moon. You see, it grows quite we see dramatically. But when it's rounding the sun, it'll look like a comet or a star or whatever it's going on. We have visual references in clay tablets and such at the time that they see it rounding the sun. They drew it like a comet. If this has the appearance of a comet, it will be the largest ever seen by man in modern time. Its tail would stretch millions and millions of miles. But that's all dependent on its magnetic field, on how large the tail would be, because the tail of a comet is not ice particle. According to the new studies with physicists, the tail of a comet is plasma, and that changes all our models. And I believe the physicists are much more correct than astronomers at the moment.
Very intriguing information. Now, Gill, do you think that the 1970s space probes, Voyagers 1 and 2, launched in 1977, and the Pioneer 10 and 11 probes launched in the early 1970s, and IRIS infrared satellite launched in 1983, found Planet X?
Well, we can go back and look at what was their reasons, which were stated in the papers, why they sent the Voyager 1. They stated they were looking for this outer planet, Planet X. Okay, that was South the universe. South the universe is not polar south. Polar south is called Nador. Polar north is called Zenith. South is on the ecliptic where Sagittarius is. And this is where they sent two probes out opposite of each other. Because we had two anomalies on opposite sides of the solar system. So when they observed that one of the probes was slowing down and the other probe was speeding up, that told them the direction of this tug. It's a magnetic pull, which they called gravity at the time, but we know now it's a magnetic tug. So they sent the other two probes in that direction, and guess where that's at? Sagittarius, south of the universe. We have multiple studies, multiple physical search patterns that NASA went through, and evidence that all points to south of the universe, that we have an object that's approaching our solar system, and it's worrying us. And now we have concrete evidence in white paper reports, because this one they couldn't hide. It was already pre-published it was tiled wrong, basically. It was hidden under the supernova. But this is Planet X, or Planet 7X, which is documented only 963 years ago, I think it is.
I got a question for you. How often does this enter our solar system? When was the last time it was recorded as being witnessed? And when is it going to be predicted to enter again?
According to the same white paper report, when they went to Europe to look for additional confirmation on the supernova, this is their comments, that it appears that the authorities at that time was doing heavy censorship, which they point to the Vatican because they were a governmental power at the time. The only thing we have is paintings and such and carvings that indicated that it passed roughly 1697 was the last documented sighting. It was we have a carving from Hamburg, Germany. It shows two large objects of equal size. One is...
Yeah, Diane, you'll notice the first hour, it was mainly just me and you. That's why I switched it back to earlier.
Shows as if it has lightning coming off of it. And the people are outside pointing to it. Okay?
It's a juggling act which one, when to go with daylight savings. I sorted out, then you guys get daylight savings. We've got to start again.
This is not the moon. This is during the date time, and we have other instances that's much, much clearer and gives us much more data that it has to be a third object. But each time this planet comes around, it gives you a total of 7 years of drought, global drought. 3.5 years coming in, 3.5 years leaving. This is a common hallmark of this object.
Down in the shops.
Another one is a double eclipse.
You want to get me
Double
some ginger
eclipses
beer?
are not found in the natural. It takes a third body to make 2 eclipses at a time. Because for the moon to go blood red in a certain instance in the Bible, on the opposite side of Earth, you need a third object. And this is documented throughout history again, in artifacts as well. And we can build a model today that roughly proves out this orbit of being roughly
20.
about 94 astronomical units out is what I place it at. And it has roughly a rough estimate of 360 to 320 year orbit coming in and out. Depends on what is it's influencing it. Because when something's on the ecliptic,
Diane, I'll meet you halfway and go half an hour early for me, half hour later for you.
that's where all the
I'll work it out sooner or later.
objects are for it to run in or have magnetic or gravitational pulls on it. So it will affect its orbital timing. And this is what the data is showing.
Boy, that's interesting. You know, Gil, you mentioned in your work the unknown gravity pulls on the planets of Uranus and Neptune, and also the work of 2 astronomers at the University of Louisiana of Lafayette, with their article published February 17th, 2011, and their announcement of the discovery of a new planet. What I thought too was very interesting was you mentioned that UK scientists had agreed with them about comet anomalies that had been perceived, pointing to a southern directional source. And it was the same area of space also noted by Dr. Robert Harrington of the U.S. Naval Observatory.
Close. He had, whenever you have an object in space, it tends to drift within a given amount of time. And he had also placed a much larger width on his orbital path. And he gave the orbital rotation around it as being clockwise instead of counterclockwise.
What?
All of these small factors threw off his estimate on where it was. But when you look at, if you were to change his data to
Carly and Mark are coming up for the weekend.
counter
And Gabe Stewart is
clockwise.
coming up.
Yeah.
It crossed the same area of space as the Pioneer and Voyager
No, I'm
probe.
not. That's one of the reasons
See,
we're
the Pioneer and
fine.
Voyager probes have instruments on
Yeah,
them
I know.
Which they
It's
call
going to get
gravity
worse. So
sensors.
I'm going to get strict
that
with
was
my money.
pointing them into the direction
I'll talk to you later.
of
No, turn it down.
what was
I can't
influencing
lie.
where the source is.
You've got to stop it.
I know I
And
do.
that's how they got it.
I know,
The
I've
Pioneer
got
and Voyager
plans.
probe.
She's
Well,
got money.
We have
Hey,
multiple
mine.
studies that
Yeah,
point to
but she
that same
said she
area of
got
space.
$2,000 when she became
And-
a carer.
Like there's a study
Yeah,
from
she blew that in
UNO
3 weeks.
indicates
Yeah,
that the
but it's a
orbits of
Chinese
comets
No.
are warped in that one
Where'd she
region of
put
space.
that on?
And that was like a 12, 15
Mum,
year
I don't
study.
know. That was 5 years ago. How am I going to
We have
remember
88
that?
Yeah, I know,
constellations.
but I mean, no, she's got
No,
Why is the
she's-
data
look,
only
she
pointing
don't
to one
know.
constellation,
She's
Sagittarius?
looking at gift horse in the mouth. I'm getting sick of
We
it.
have a
Yeah,
problem.
no, you don't pay
We have
for that.
No.
physical
She
effects
can pay for that.
of this
Yeah,
object
it's a
coming in.
couple
Problem is, she won't be out of money. She comes and
And that
snips
is
me.
clear.
Yeah, I know.
If we follow the
That's going to
data.
last you.
We don't have to get
I
followed.
won't have to give you
hearsay.
any more.
I know that. Mum,
Very intriguing. Now, Gil,
with my
you mentioned the importance of
what I got locked
artifacts.
in the term
Could you
deposit,
tell us about the sky dim
I'm
Neighbor,
going to strip that back.
and the fact that you believe it was actually made at the ancient Ghost
Well, I can get
Observatory
access
in
every
Germany,
6 months and get
which
my
is the oldest
interest.
observatory in
I'm
Europe.
not going to do that now. I'm just going to keep 5
Yes,
grand, not so much.
the artifact we're talking about is the Skybra,
Yeah.
the Nebra sky disk. It was found in a
That's right, yeah.
area that they call Nebra, which is
Well, I got it there. I'll
roughly about
spend
20
it.
miles southeast of the observatory, the oldest observatory, which is roughly 1 day's journey from it of that period in time. And one of the reasons why I'm indicating that it came originally was created from that observatory because of some of the
Yeah, Vast, she worries about me, mate. She's a good mum.
descriptive items they put on the disc. Like the horizons, the river is in front of it. There was an old river which is closed off to have a dam now. They rerouted the river.
Come on, Moo. Hop up.
Where the
Hop
old
up.
river used to be,
Good girl.
which is
Jump, jump. Good girl.
just in front of this observatory. And this is what the disc is drawn at the bottom. They draw a levee with running water through it, representing the river. Then you have your western and eastern horizon. And we know that this is made in Germany because they tested the metal. And the metallurgists have come back and said that this was all mined and formed in that area of Germany. We have the constellation Capricorn to the right, Gemini to the left.
Yeah, they do die.
Well, that frames the month of April. And on top of that, it shows play.
Diane, is that anywhere near that Cascade underwater mountain?
Pleiades. It shows the moon and it shows
Keith, North Atlantic. You're the Atlantic Ocean, aren't you? America?
the sun. Well, with all these other stars, you can't see the stars if the sun is on unless the sun is eclipsed. And they're showing all of this together. But the problem that the experts did not state in their official report was a few items. One, the crescent moon. I mean, the moon is shown in a crescent. You can't have a solar eclipse if the moon is in a crescent. It takes a new moon. Two, they never pointed out that the crescent moon is facing the wrong direction. The illuminated side has to be facing the sun. And what it
He's right there. Wow, what a little detail we've all missed.
moon is shown in a crescent. You can't have a solar eclipse if the moon is in a crescent. It takes a new moon. Two, they never pointed out that the crescent moon is facing the wrong direction. The illuminated side has to be facing the sun. And what it really is pointing out is there is a third object that is causing the eclipse. Otherwise, you can't have the moon in a crescent shape at the same time. And you can't see the stars unless unless the sun is darkened. And you have all three of these going on at the same time. And when we go back and look at the astronomy records of this proper arrangement, because it gives us Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury with this crescent shape to the right. And when we go back to that latitude in Germany and look at the skies, we come up with a date of April 6, 1810. Now, one thing I found out throughout my other research is that our calendar changed from Hezekiah's time. It used to be 360-day year. Today we have 365. So you have the astronomy software does not compensate for this. So for every year back in time of Hezekiah, you have to subtract basically a week of time, and that added up to 16 years that you have to back from this, and this gauge is actually April 6, 1794 BCE. That lands exactly on the genealogy or the time periods of Joseph of Egypt in the biblical records. This is also marking from the latitude of Germany in April. You cannot see Orion, which is shown at the base of this disk, unless Earth tilted 26 to 28 degrees. In other words, the latitude of Germany, it has to tilt all the way to the latitude of Luxor or Egypt to be able to see the constellation Orion from the latitude of Germany. And the biblical stories actually document this in a way. Joseph had a dream at age 17 where he said the skies bowed to him. And that was a future event. Well, that future event happened mid of the drought. Remember where Joseph predicted you'd have 7 years of plenty, 7 years of serious drought. The planet / comet right here passes mid of that drought. This happens to be the exact date. Now we have at least 3 to 4 artifacts that we can give exact dates to biblical time.
Yes, we do. And what fascinating material there. I can't wait to continue after the break. We are taking a break now, only 3 minutes. And again, I really look forward to discussing further artifacts. The information really is just spellbinding. It's remarkable. Everyone, you're listening to Global Newsmaker Focus on your contact for Alternative Talk Radio, KGRAradio.com. We'll return after a 3-minute station break with tonight's guest, Gill Broussard. Our guest's website is planet7x.net.
That was a dog coughing.
As you know, recently we've been dealing with many natural disasters, and a lot of people have lost contact with their loved ones for days, even weeks. Others in the most vulnerable moments were unable to contact emergency services and call for help because of these potentially life-threatening circumstances from hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, and even rogue nations such as North Korea. Satellite Phone Store made satellite phones an affordable solution to being prepared when all communications are cut off. Satellite phones don't rely on cell phone towers, and they work anywhere under the open sky. Satellite Phone Store will give you a free Inmarsat iSat Phone 2 satellite phone with a monthly subscription on select service plans with enough time to provide you with reliable communications between your family and emergency services when you need it the most. To learn more, call 877-705-8839 or go to satellitephonestore.com. Supplies are limited, so call today, 877-705-8839 to hear all options and stay prepared.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger-looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Hi, this is Nate with KGRA Radio, here to remind you of our next live on-location remote from Wasatch Rides in Layton, Utah. Join me, Warren, and the KGRA crew Tuesday, November the 7th at 9 a.m. to kick off the 5-day grand opening sales event at 1969 North Main in Layton. Huge inventory, prices slashed to sell. Take advantage of 0 down, no payments for 90 days for qualified buyers. While you are there, register to win a 2008 Chevrolet If you need a new ride, don't miss the 5-day grand opening sales event. It all kicks off Tuesday, November the 7th at 9 a.m. at 1969 North Main in Layton, Utah. And we will see you there.
Visit WasatchRidesAuto.com.
Now you have the inside contact for Alternative Talk Radio. The Planet. KGRARadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Global Newsmaker Focus on your contact for Alternative Talk Radio, KGRARadio.com. Tonight's guest is Gill Broussard with website at planet7x.net. We're returning now to our discussion before the break on important artifacts regarding Planet 7X. Also joining us now is our news media consultant and analyst, Billy Elkins.
Come here, hop up. Hop up.
Billy, can you hear us?
Come on,
Hi
jump
there.
up. Good girl, come on.
Now, Gill, you know
Yes.
as well that Planet 7X was the event referenced by Jonah in a 40-day call-out on February 17th to the people of Nineveh. The actual crossing of this comet or planet occurred in the mid-month of Passover in March or April. Now, Gill, you describe in your interviews that the planisphere disk found in the Nineveh library notes that the record of one of the royal astronomers of the king who documented Jonah's account. Fascinating information there, Gill.
Yes, it is. Once I've collected these 14 events in the biblical records, and it was matching a model, I had known that someone had to document it. And Billy, your mic. Okay. Yeah. The Nineveh disk, it's dated back in the 700 BC range, which is exactly the time of.
I don't know about this Nineveh disc. I've never heard of it before.
The time of Jonah. And this disc, they drew the different constellations. It was done by the king's astronomers. They have 7 constellations drawn, which was what the nighttime sky saw. And they also referenced the planets, the sun, the moon, Mars, Mercury, and Saturn.
Hey, Kelly, good to see you.
In roughly the to the right-hand side of the sky. But what's very interesting is they show this comet-like object on the ecliptic. They actually draw the line going right through the object and the center of the sun, which is the ecliptic. Just like a very large comet. And when we go back and bring this into the software, remember what science is. If you can take observed phenomena, bring it to the laboratory, which is software, and show that it's repeatable, that's science and astronomy. We take this disk right here, bring it into the software model. It gives us a date of 687 BCE, February 17th, which is roughly 40 days before Passover comes around. So this is documenting Jonah's account. Remember, Jonah didn't create one miracle. He went into the town. How did he get the entire town repentant without creating even one miracle? He just pointed to an object.
Oh, man, come on.
40 days.
Up or down.
If you don't, just repent. Try that today without a object in the sky. And we have, this is hard facts right here. This lines up with the biblical
come on, shush.
And
shush, girl.
stories also too.
Good girl.
We can go back and document multiple events, bring it
Good
to the
girl, man.
laboratory. They didn't have planetary, they didn't know Kepler's laws of planetary motion. They didn't know orbital mechanics. So for them to guess the correct path and everything that we're doing, it's impossible. They were documenting something that they're visually seeing, and they documented it well enough that we can bring it to the laboratory and actually reproduce this. It's the same model as the Chinese records.
Moo.
And remember, Nineveh was not trying to provide the Bible. The Chinese,
There
and,
she is, my moo.
Koreans,
Yay,
and Japanese,
moo.
these Asians were not
Yay.
trying to provide. They didn't have any clue of what existed.
I love my moo
Neither
moo.
did the Germans. All they're doing is documenting these real world. And they're trying to warn the future.
Fascinating information. And Gill, please join us if you could hear us now. And Gill, you also mentioned the camping and supply at the museum.
Hang on, I'm having trouble getting it back.
Yeah.
I am so sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm still on the phone. Very interesting stuff. And I appreciate you, Patricia, letting me be on the show here. I do have one tiny question, though. And then I'll mute it back over here so you don't hear all the noise and buzz. Do you believe that if we get this encounter with the Planet 7X, do you believe it's going to be after the rapture, or is it going to happen during the rapture? And I'm going to mute and listen to your answer.
Okay. I had a different opinion whenever I first started this search here. Remember, I was a skeptic, and we didn't have all the answers when people looked at Revelation. I come up with a completely different answer because my research had to go much deeper than what I've studied before. I had to get into the Hebrew and everything and the Hebrew mindset. One thing we failed to notice in the book of Revelation, there is two taking aways, not one. They're qualified completely different. And that may shake up some people, but you need to go back and read it carefully.
Yeah.
One taking away says you're brought to the wilderness, and it's only a remnant, and that you meet him in Jerusalem. Okay. The other one qualifies it completely different.
That does look interesting, Rust.
And it's all believers, and you're brought to heaven. Those two can't meet to be the same event. So we have two separate events. One at the beginning of the Great Tribulation, one at the end of the Great Tribulation. Now we know the two prophets prophesied for 1,260 days before they're dead and then they're raptured. So where's that rapture at? At the end of the Great Tribulation. So what's at the beginning? A remnant that's brought to the wilderness for safety. They're on earth still. And that's the bride and the bridemaid, if you look at this. The guests of the wedding, they're going through the Great Tribulation. And he says, if you make it through the Great Tribulation, alive at the end of this, count yourself lucky. Very few you will. And you can look at this in the book of, we're in Jacob's trouble. Go read Jacob's story. You see that when he took his inheritance from his father, he had to leave shortly after because Esau wanted to kill him. That blessing was given on a Sabbath year. So he goes to his uncle's home, and he gets hired on, and he worked for him for 7 years for his daughter. But he was tricked by a daughter he knew, by a bride he knew nothing about. This is in relation to world leaders. Okay, 2001, Esau attacked Jacob in 2001. 7 years later, we get a world leader we knew nothing about. Another 7 years passed. Now we get a leader that we thought the first one was going to do was drain the swamp. This one is the one that's actually doing it. Then there was followed by Jubilee. Joseph worked for free after that. Then after that, he struck a deal with his father that all the spotted sheep and goats would be his as payment. Well, it doesn't say how long he worked until he goes to leave with his flock. His father chases him down and says for him to come back. And he says, I worked for you for 20 years. See, the great revelation is not 7 years. It's more than that. 20 years brings you up to the beginning of the Great Tribulation. And when Jacob reached the river Jordan, he split his family, or he split his community. His favorite went into hiding, and the other ones went on to take on Esau, either in peace or by war. This is a mirror image of what's happening today. Jacob, which is Jews and Christians, Esau declared war against him. And the globalists. The globalists are with the Esau. There isn't any difference between them. And this is what's taking place for them. This planet comes at the beginning of the Great Tribulation. That's mid of the drought. Remember, the two prophets bring with them 3.5 years of drought. That's the last half of the 7. So if this is going to be around 2021, which we don't know, we should see prior to that 3.5 years of global drought starting. It may be phased in greater and greater and greater, but start monitoring the river levels. Start monitoring the food prices, because grain is mostly shipped by rivers. So we're getting close. We are getting
I got a question for you. In the political atmosphere, the social, the global environment that we're all undergoing today, all the different confrontations and possible conflict that is pretty much looks like it's going to be on the horizon for the majority of us. Where do you see this breaking out? Is this going to be something that happens in the Middle East between Israel and Iran, the proxies? And what leader is going to be that one that you believe might be the false prophet that will bring peace, usher in peace, but yet be the great deceiver?
Well, that's a loaded question. Let's see. I think we will see a war in the Middle East, because the Bible tells us so. It even mentions that, he said, Damascus, no one will live there anymore. It'll be a ruinous heap. Yes, it is partly ruined, but people are still living there. We have a problem with Hamas. Hamas doesn't mind dying. And that's what we have, that whole problem with radical Islam. They're kamikazes, period. Okay? So if they use chemical weapons, which we know that there's some still over there, they use chemical weapons against Israel. That's a mass destructive weapon.
Just jump, move.
I feel sorry for them when that happens, because Israel has the right to protect itself with a mass destructive weapon also. Damascus will be gone. It'll be radioactive or whatever it's going to be. I don't know what weapon they're going to use, but it'll be more than what they. Remember, Israel has a policy: you hit me, I'll hit you 10 times harder. It's going to be one hell of a blow. And we also know that the Iranian Guard is also in Syria, so it may come from them even. We don't know. But Iran has announced publicly that the
elite of them countries are usually Persian, like Iran and Iraq. Their leaders are Persian.
They want to push all the Jews into the sea and kill them all. We have them voicing their opinions that they're against Saudi Arabia. We got the Iranian Guard in Yemen. Tensions are very high over there at the moment. And if you see a war happen between Saudi Arabia and you see Iran is going to go nuclear. And that's going to bring in Israel, and that's going to bring in Syria, maybe even a few other countries. Don't know. But it's going to be a fairly quick war at that level.
And at the same time, are we going to be witnessing physical, natural phenomenon, a rise in earthquakes? Obviously, if this body is entering close to into our solar system and starting to affect the gravitational pull on other planets, and possibly here, are we going to be witnessing a natural phenomenon that's going to correlate with this event?
We're already witnessing natural phenomena unless a person is asleep. The level of the heightened level of earthquakes are heading way off the charts. Natural disasters, sinkholes, earthquakes. Look at Yellowstone. I think there was like 1,200. Don't quote me that number because I don't have an exact number, but it's somewhere like 1,200 in 1 month, I believe, or a week. I don't know which one it was when I was over there. The prior week that I went over there. You don't see that type of scenario unless the volcano is ready to blow. But you're seeing we have something like the common amount is like 23 to 24 volcanoes going on globally. That used to be maybe 2 a year. Now it's 23 and 24 a year. I mean, active, not in a year, but actively going on at the same time. We've never seen this level of stress on the earth before. And right now, our magnetic north is racing at 12 times its normal rate. Global warming does not answer why the magnetic north is moving 12 times its normal rate towards our North Pole. Okay? Why is the physical tilt of Earth swinging towards the south of the universe an extra 4 degrees? Only in the summertime. When it's in wintertime, it's shielded by the sun. It has a normal tilt. But when Earth comes back around July 6th or 9th, guess what? We have a 4-degree tilt towards this south of the universe. Exactly what you would expect of an inbound magnetic body. Its magnetic pull is tilting Earth from the direction that it's coming from. There's overwhelming evidence if we open our eyes. Look, I didn't want this thing to be, I went to discredit this. I was going to bring out, and I found my own evidence in the Chinese record that I still spent another 1.5 years after that trying to find Achilles heels to say that this can't be true because I didn't like the results. I still don't like the results, but it's overwhelming evidence. I have no ground to stand on as being a skeptic that this planet does not exist anymore. I have none. This is a real object, real planet with real effects. We have it documented multiple places and multiple times in multiple civilizations. What else would change the calendar year of our planet in around 700 BC there, from 360-day year to 365 and a quarter, and this is global, to multiple civilizations? It wasn't just the Hebrews. We have at least 8 to 12 different civilizations that change their calendar within the next 5 years. Why 5? Because you're off a week a year. After 5 years, you're off a month on your planting season. They have to change it then. Otherwise, they could starve if they didn't get the planting season right. But the Hebrews were first.
Gil, thank you very much to think about there. Now, Gil, regarding anomalous occurrences now, regarding Earth, what could you tell us about the Japanese and their noticing wobblings in the moon?
Yeah, they were studying the moon because they wanted to know the relationship between the earthquakes. You get more of them on a closer to a full moon, and that's something that they notice. So they're keeping close. They monitor the moon to see if there's any effects. But one of the things they notice is that the moon's orbital path is elongated.
Wow.
In other words, perturbations are shown in the moon from an unknown object.
I didn't see that angle, Diane. Them using the money for that.
That's affecting. That's what they noticed. You know, they don't state it like that. They stating the physical effects, but the physical effects are caused by an unknown planet, is what it is. Because an object does not move out of its gravitation. I mean, its magnetic ring that it orbits in, unless you have another magnetic field affecting it. And this is why we've seen perturbations over the last 200 years of our outer planets. This is not, a recent event. It's recent for the moon because the object is much closer now. It's been heading back towards the center of the sun for quite a while. That's why NASA went silent in 1990, December 1992. It was. If you go back and turn on the software and see where the Pioneers and Voyager probes were, and put into account they have gravity sensors that were triangulating the position, and they tracked it enough to where they knew it was coming towards the sun, that it didn't have a circular orbit around our solar system, that it was coming into our inner towards the sun. That's when they went quiet, because now it becomes a threat. They have to study it more. And since it's on the ecliptic, they know it's a threat now, because that's where all the data is placing it. You can't cross an Earth planetary plane twice without it being on the ecliptic. And we have a narrow field of view to look at in Sagittarius on the ecliptic.
Thank you for that information. Now, Gill, you also mentioned the account of King Hezekiah and Isaiah, the shadow going up and then reversing on the 10 steps of a palace stair. You believe the earth went through a 26 to 28 degree tilt. Indeed, this event is noted in the King James Bible, Isaiah.
Oh, accidentally pressed the button. Hang on, guys.
Wish you could yell at mosquitoes to stay off your skin. Now you can with Mosquito Band. This tech marvel harnesses sound waves to create an invisible shield. No nasty chemicals or odor.
Oh, come on.
Isaiah chapter 38, verse 8, there is referenced as the 10 degrees of the sundial of Ahaz, his father.
Hey, Phil, good to see you,
what I
mate.
found so exciting, Gil, was last night I noted some articles on the discovery of the royal seal of King Hezekiah, and this seal appears to show an image. I think could be a large planet with wing-like appendages. In one of the articles entitled Hezekiah seal proves ancient Jerusalem was a major Judahite capital by Julia Friedman. They note a quote from Uriah Tadmor, here quoting, impression of a seal bearing the words belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah, and showing a winged sun and ox, Assyrian symbols of power and life. Uriah Tadmor, end quote. Well, what really intrigues me is that does look like a Planet X or 7X image.
Well, yeah, that's if you wanted to do a drawing, a representation of what you're visually seeing, putting wings on an object means it's flying across the sky. A circular disc means that it's round in shape or spherical. This is exactly what they were shown. This is also shown in the Egyptian and other cultures. not just those two. Now, some people were claiming that the Hebrews there were worshiping a pagan god. That's farthest from the truth. Farthest from the truth. They're showing the wing object because there was a wing, a spherical object moving across the sky. And that it was in an answer to Hezekiah's prayer to make the shadow go backwards. They're documenting it. Okay? This changed their calendar for them as well. Now, the math again, when we go look at Hezekiah's shadow going backwards, and you do the math because steps are, a typical height. A lot of windows would be placed on a stairway so it can be illuminated. Well, guess what? When you do the calcs, again, you're looking at a north to south tilt because it wasn't a sundial that's going east to west. That's a misinterpretation. In the Hebrew, it only says it was shadows on the steps, not sundial. And
Interesting.
whenever you calculate it, it gives you a 26 to 28 degree tilt, north to south tilt, exactly like the Niebuhr disk again.
Yeah.
Boy, that's interesting. And Gill, thank you for that. Gill, I was noticing in one of your YouTube videos that you were speaking.
Talia, when I become Christian, I thought being Christian would be boring because I had the impression of you just in a church hearing sermons. But being Christian, it's the most exciting time of my life with what's happening. Such a big difference.
With a rabbi, was it regarding Torah code subject matter on Planet 7X or Torah code references?
No way.
I have talked to some of the rabbis on the Torah code, but I have nothing more to mention than what they've already mentioned. The rabbi that you seen me speaking with was, you see, there's around 8 to 10 books that's named in our Bible that we have no copies of. All right. So there is additional text. And if you look closely at history, these books are the ones that are missing just before they went into captivity. It was there with them. But when they came out of captivity, they're joined into another book, which probably is called today the Talmud, is blended in there, but they don't carry the same name. So there is accounts. I'm looking for historical accounts pertaining to events that they witnessed, and it's stated in there. Even future events are stated in there. So it's matching our book of Revelation.
Boy, that's intriguing. Now, Gill, back to the physical effects with the scenario. You mentioned that the first meteor storm is noted in Revelation 6, and the second meteor storm in Revelation 7. Now, you also indicate that the second meteor shower occurs 5 months later. North and South America will be hit a second time, and this includes a part of the Pacific Ocean.
Correct. Remember, the Bible tells us that it's similar to Noah's flood, and he also says Lot. Okay, the time of Lot. Well, both of those events also had something to do with our planet as well. Well, the book of Revelation, 5 months is equivalent to 150.
Diane, Pat and Kenny, they passed over. That's been about 4 or 5 years now. Pretty sure that happened in 2018. We lost them both. And then we lost Tricky one Christmas.
2.25 days as the calendar.
I've had a stinker of the year, Diane. It's still happening now. My cat's still missing. I've had a horrible year.
So, those are also a way of saying 5 months. So that's the similarity between Noah and Lot, is this planet entry and exit points. And it says if you happen to make it through remember, only half of the globe is hit, which is the daylight side. And that they will wish death for 5 months before death comes on the second event, which will hit North and South America, but a little bit more to the Pacific side. And it says a fiery mountain is large, asteroid as large as a fiery mountain will hit that ocean. Earth is hit so hard it split. It wobbles like a drunkard. All walls on Earth is either cracked or crumbled. Try to put that in a Richter scale to see how big of an earthquake would you need to go around the world to crack or crumble all walls. Earth is actually, the time or the seasons of Earth are changed. Even our calendar year changed because it hits us from the nighttime side on the second event. It pushes Earth slightly inward towards the sun, where our calendar is equal to Enoch's calendar now, 364-day year, and our seasons are changed. Keep in mind, the Hebrew calendar is set on the seasons. If the seasons change, the Hebrew calendar will change. That will end up making you where you don't know the day or the hour of the rapture, which is 3.5 years later. So it says you will know on his first taking away if you're in Jerusalem following his Mekrah. The word Mekrah in Hebrew means dry rehearsal. It does not mean feast. He's having you practice something, preparing you for a real event. So cult, you're supposed to have tents, and you're practicing living in a tent structure. Well, if you're in during this time, most housings are not safe if the walls are cracked. He's having you practice and have everything you need for living in tents. Passover is when you need to be in Jerusalem. That's when Elijah and Moses comes for that Passover. And that'll be a nighttime event. The last 3 days of its approach, Earth is getting close to the plasma tail, which is plasma. Okay, that's like an EMP. They have to shut off all generators globally. So now you're burning all lamps and candles. That night will be when they turn it off, the generators, and you're having an old-fashioned Passover. That's when Elijah, there'll be no TV crews and radio crews announcing Elijah and Moses because there's no power. The only warning a wicked and adulterous world will have is a 40-day warning, like the warning of Jonah. The governments will warn the people at 40 days when it's approaching. The Bible clearly tells us we'll have only a short notice. If it wouldn't be closed, we'd have 16 years advance notice. Because amateur astronomers have large enough telescopes to see at the edge of Neptune out there. Because this object is double the size of Neptune. And we do not see it. There's no sighting in the public realm. There's some in probably the military and the science realm, but not in the private realm.
Vast, I prefer winter as well. Our summers are stinking hot here. I don't enjoy them.
But yet we have all the effects. It's kind of like a forest fire where you have smoke, you have heat, but you can't see the flames. Do you still have a forest fire? The answer to that is yes. And we have the Inbound Planet. If you look at it, it's in white paper reports. It's listed in the Bible. And it's in front of you today on the news. The earthquakes, the sinkholes, the strange weather patterns. This is what's changing it.
And Gill, would you surmise it is a great distance astronomically still, but it's already having this type of major impact?
I think it's inside our solar system. Remember, we're going to have a short notice. For us to have even, let's say, greater than 40 days, I'd say no more than 9 months notice. That would put it somewhere around Mars' orbit for a... No way can a planet sneak up on Earth at that time unless it's close. And they have to shut down the internet. Otherwise, amateur astronomers would take pictures and alert people even beyond the 40-day warning. So we won't have the internet. I can tell you that right now. There will be some sort of national emergency globally that they'll shut down the internet. to try to keep order, to try to protect the financial. Before the internet will go down, they'll have to implement a bail-in globally of banks. And they already talked about that. If you look at the research, they already talked about bail-in. They already tried. Greece, I think, went into bail-in. Cyprus went into two or three countries already did its experiments. They understand what the public will do. They will implement a bail-in, and they'll also shut down the internet, and they'll have a reason. It's going to be either terrorism or whatever. They'll blame it on them, but this gives them a reason to do this. But what they're doing is shutting down your communication, and also amateur astronomers from alerting you. You need to know where to look, and you need to better do it on your own merit using what's called a planisphere, a cardboard rotating dial that tells you what constellation you're looking at any given point in time, called a planisphere. Get one for your latitude. And that would tell you if you're looking at Sagittarius. And when you see a new star, just like if you're looking at Venus or Jupiter, at a certain point it'll have a tail, then you know it's no longer a planet. I mean, a planet that we know is going to be a planet that's listed here in history. That way you get advanced warning. But don't expect me or someone else to warn you, because they're not going to allow us. Not when it comes really close to where you can see. You're on your own. You have to be able to look up in the skies and determine this.
Well, again, I must say those details are rather alarming. You do indicate that in this scenario that there would be winds near 300 miles per hour on the part of the globe's surface that is head on with the direction of the tilt. Slightly lesser winds will be expected in areas sheltered by mountains or trees, and also large tidal surges hundreds of miles inland are expected. That's major, so major.
Well, yes, when think of it as like two magnets crossing, because we're not dealing with a gravity-ruled universe. We're looking at electromagnetic. The planets are locked in a magnetic ring that causes them to have their orbit. Okay, there's a certain amount of play in that ring, but they're still locked in. Well, think of it as two magnets getting closer. They start to tilt toward each other. The maximum tilt, because remember, opposite poles attract. It's going to be roughly around 26 to 28 degree tilt. That would be maximum. And now we already have somewhat of a tilt, but this is not as dramatic as what we're going to see when it's much, much closer. Probably the last 6 hours of its approach.
We had Mike from around the world say that planes were going to drop out of the sky, and they did, guys.
Be the most drastic, and another 6 hours leaving. So a total of 12 hours is where the most dramatic part is. And Earth would tilt. Well,
Mike knows his weather and his earthquake stuff.
If you're within the axis of that tilt, you're looking at 300 mile an hour winds, unless you have a ground effect, unless you're mountains, but you're going to have gusts coming in. And keep in mind, that's like a F5 tornado. Grass doesn't stay in the ground at that speed if you ever get hit by a gust. But if you're next to the tilt, the focal point of the tilt, you have hardly any. You have a little shaking, but hardly any winds. And that tilt, I mean, the pivot point of that tilt is going to be near Jerusalem. That's why he's telling you to go practice Passover at that time period. He specifically says you need to practice it in Jerusalem. This is not vain religious acts. It's someone who's outside of time telling you where to be to save your life at the right time and place. And he says, look for this object. He'll show you a sign in the sky. Now we know what the sign is. This is written throughout the Bible, multiple points. And it's written in Revelation as well. That's why you get 2 meteor showers 5 months apart. What other object would give you a meteor shower 5 months apart? Remember where he says he sends the 4 angels and they stop the wind? The only way you can stop the wind is if you stop the rotation of the earth. That happened in Joshua's long day as well. The earth will stop on its axis by 12 hours, changing the designated impact site by 12 hours. The astronomers will predict the Middle East
Wow.
being hit, that side of the globe. They're wrong. It says 1/3 of grass, 1/3 of trees, 1/3 of the rivers are burned. When you add rivers, what are you describing? Continental crust. They didn't have a word for the continent, but they just described it. What half of the globe is 1/3 of the continental crust? That's North and South America.
Hi, Gil. This is Billy again. Finally, I'm in a quieter place. I appreciate excuse me. I appreciate you guys having patience with me here. I got one question though, and this may go back earlier what you're talking about. As you know, no man knows the day or the hour, but I heard some people.
Is he the big guy from the Next News Network? He's got his own redacted type show. It sounds like him.
That's the rapture. Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you believe that all these events could take place somewhere in the 2030s? Because I don't know if you've ever heard of the 6-day theory. A day is 1,000 years with the Lord, 1,000 years is a day. Earth was created in 6 days or 6,000 years. He rested on the 7th. There's 4,000 years of history from Adam to Christ, and there's supposed to be 2,000 years of history from the church till the time of the rapture when he sets up his kingdom. So could it be feasible, even though I know our calendars are a little off, could it be feasible that all this could really happen in the 2030s? Because that would really be actually the 2000th anniversary of Christ's burial, death, and resurrection?
Actually, I think our theology is a little off. If you have a history chart that are laid out the 6,000 years, there's at least a 2-year era that I found in history of using astronomy. Okay, like in other words, the temple. A lot of people claim that the second temple was destroyed in 70 A.D. when actually it was 68 A.D. Okay. Because of astronomical events that I was able to find. And that was also proven in other items where, again, astronomical, I'm off 2 years according to history. Again, it's history. Our dating method is off by 2 years because remember, we were using the ruling of kings and adding them together to come up with, what year is what. But stop.
They know Jesus was born between 2 and 4 BC. They do know that. I think it's 4 BC, to be honest.
Starting today, going back 6,000 years, let me see, 6001 was 2001. Okay, that's when that was. That was the beginning of the 6th millennium. If you read carefully in Revelation, there's a war at the beginning of the millennium, and there's a war at the end of this millennium, where Satan's released one more time. A lot of people think that, that's 1,000 years of peace. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say. In the 1,000-year peace, there is peace, but not the entire 1,000 years. The beginning of it starts with a war, and the end of it. To find out how long the war or Jacob's trouble is, we'll read the story of Jacob. 20 years before the Great Tribulation starts.
Well, you know what? You bring up a good point about that because I remember I used to watch a lot of Jack Van Impe over the years. I still kind of do every now and then. He's not on the air as much as he used to be. And I watched him about a month or two ago. I was listening to one of his programs, and he made the same. Because I was used to think, okay, how in the heck are you going to have 1,000 years of peace on earth? You lose the devil one more time, and then people are going to fall away. But because there were people that were saved during the tribulation hour, because not everybody during that 1,000 years is going to be in our heavenly body. The church and everybody that's raptured out will be, but there's going to be survivors there. So that does make a lot of sense, and I never thought that until then.
And the saved don't suffer wrath in the beginning of the tribulation. They get bit with them. They get bit with them locusts, and the Christians, they don't get bit by the locusts, but the ones who took the mark do.
And you feel the same way about that as well? That these survivors are still going to have the sin nature, and that's why people are still going to fall away once the devil's loose again?
Yep, I think he's right.
See, right now they've got their hopes up so many times that they're starting to fall away because they were told.
I love
it's only
Christmas,
3.5
Talia.
years and 7 years, and now they don't know what to believe anymore. Well, believe the Bible. Go read the story of Jacob. It's 20 years before the Great Tribulation starts. After that, we run out of numbers. Now, unless that number was translated wrong, which might be a possibility. I haven't checked it, but I'm just relying on it. It says we have 3 more events to happen. Economic troubles. Now, that doesn't mean it's a depression. We could go through a currency war, a trade war. What we see is our normal.
We're going through a trade war now, so we hit that on the head.
Economy is going to be disrupted tremendously. And some people will get rich, some people will be very, very poor. The average person on the street would be very poor because they're not set up for this. You need to get either a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, a little bit of dinar, maybe. Anything that's until the dollar can equalize again. You're going to need something that's going to grow a little bit. Gold is artificially held. It'll probably go up to 12 to 13,000. Matter of fact, the Chinese printed an article that they plan on pegging the yuan when it reaches 13,000 an ounce. Okay. Other countries will have to peg their currency to gold at some given point. Not all, at least the majors. Maybe Russia, United States, China, maybe Brazil, maybe India. Don't know. But you're going to see a few of them. Most countries can't. Then they're going to come out. Then you're going to see a trade war. And economic, you're going to see a currency war, then a trade war. Then that includes a Middle East war over there because people are disabled in their economy. And that's going to cause tensions, and people will go to conquer other people's resources. And out of that will come a standard from the part of the Basel III is countries have to audit all of their natural resources. That started in 2010. All their natural resources are audited in a certain standard in a certain way. At that point, they're going to be your currency that's going to come out with this standard. A country's currency is going to be pegged to their natural resources. The goal of the globalists is to end up owning all of the natural resources of the world through the debt that a country accrues. So your currency would end up being the title to the natural resources. And through debt, because they're not going to pass bills that have a balanced budget, through debt, the bankers will end up owning. Once they get 51%, they control the country. They dictate to a country what they can do with their natural resources. Because it's done in a corporate way. So we're looking at Seal 3, economic problems. Seal 4 is terrorism in a quarter world population. That's Western nations. Western nations are going to be attacked heavily by Esau, Jews and Christians mostly.
Yep.
After that is a peace agreement. Whoever's in the middle of that peace agreement is the Mahdi, which is, we call it the anti-Messiah. That anti-Messiah.
Okay, the Mahdi, that's the Muslims' big boogeyman. And by the way he's talking, this is Trump's era now. So judging by what he said, Trump's the Mahdi.
Has to mimic a lot of what the first anti-Messiah was, or the person that called himself God on earth, which was Nimrod. Okay. Nimrod and Esau are joined together in a way. So you're looking at, it says that Ham's descendants would be a slave of a slave, it says, or a worker of a worker. And that's who Nimrod was. He was the grandson of Ham.
No way.
Later, they joined with Esau. So the religion of the Antichrist has to be Islamic, and he has to bear a certain curse of a certain race, that they're a slave of a slave. According to Islam, that he had to bring war first. Well, someone financed the Muslim Brotherhood that started this, and also was found to be financing ISIS. And if he's involved in the peace agreement and he gets the credit, that's when the Bible tells us you will know then that he is the Antichrist, or the anti-Messiah, which in Islam is their Messiah, and it has to have a sign in the sky, which is our planet approaching.
Yeah.
It'll look like a star. Then he has.
Vast Australia gets thrown into them judgments as well. You'd be aware we've had a lot of floods and that in the last 3 or 4 years. We've had fires that took 1.5 billion animals out. We had some really bad fires, some really bad floods, and they're all Planet X, I think, anyway.
Perform a miracle that no man can do. He's going to say, remember, the astronomers are going to predict the Middle East being hit by a meteor shower. People are going to want to leave the Middle East to go to Western countries to get out of the.
I think Trump's one of the 10 kings. That's what I've come to the conclusion. Because I'm still on board with King Charles being the AC. I still think it's him.
Kill zone. No one's going to give them a visa because of the terrorist activity in SEAL 4. So they're stuck and they're locked in their own country. Here comes this so-called Messiah, false Messiah, said not to worry, that he'll change times and laws. That he will slow down the earth by 12 hours and cause fire to fall on their enemy, North and South America. And this is a false miracle, because I already told you how it's done. It's already described in the Bible, the effects of what this planet, using physics, not astronomy. Astronomy has some of that, they have some issues that are wrong. This is a magnetically ruled universe, not a gravity rule. Gravity is a minor effect. And using the physicist model, the Bible is clearly declaring a model that works. We have a model today. We can prove out Joshua's long day, and Earth did slow down by 12 hours. And the moon was placed in a way where it protected Joshua's men only. The meteors only hit the enemy.
Wow.
The Almighty is very precise on what he's doing here.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. But let me say this, though. I just thought of something here while you were talking about all that, and I apologize for just going off the top of my head here.
Yeah, he's got German background, hasn't he, Phil?
When you say that the planet 7X is going to appear as a star, do you think that...
Yeah, Vast, no offense, but you say that about a lot of people that have been put off.
was the same planet?
In fact, you say that about anyone famous usually.
That they came around during the time of Christ's birth
No.
to show the way?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't line up to that time frame. It is the one at his crucifixion or his sacrifice. Remember where it states there was 3 hours of darkness?
Yep.
Well, the moon can only give you 7.3 minutes. How you get 3 hours from that? 2, it mentions that the double eclipse. It says the moon was turned blood red, and the moon and the sun was darkened. Well, this is Passover. The moon's on the opposite side of Earth. It can't be involved with the sun. Only way that you can have a 3-hour eclipse is by a third object.
I like that. I'm a Christian pilgrim.
Roughly 5 to 7 times the diameter of Earth will give you, guess what? 3 hours of darkness. And it says the whole world was dark. And we have outside texts of scientists or people of science mind writing to each other saying that what was this? It can't be the moon. How do we get 3 hours of darkness, and how is it the whole earth is dark? We have confirmation of these stories in the Bible pertaining to this. The only way that you can do it, do a model, a physical model. Remember, if we bring an observed phenomenon into the laboratory and show that it's repeatable, that's science. I can prove to you it gives you 3 hours of darkness over the whole earth. I can prove to you Joshua's long day, how when earth enters into the plasma field, we slow down by 12 hours. I can prove to you the shadow went backwards on the steps of Hezekiah because earth tilted 26 to 28 degrees, as it also did in Joseph's time, as proves about his dream at age 40. He had a dream at 17, I think it was. But it wasn't proven until he was age 40, mid of the drought. Read Revelation with physics and astronomy in mind and look at what it's saying. There's no way that these people 2,000 years ago could get this. How is it that it passed 5, and this is going to be the 6th time, since the book of Revelation was even written, it passed 6 times, but guess what? They didn't mention about the other time. They said when Israel is formed in one day, that generation, the Holocaust generation, will not die out before all is fulfilled.
We were born in one day, Australia, Federation Day, 1909. We got a federation from England.
And it says the generation is 70 and 80. In I think Psalms are one of the two. Well, guess what? We're coming to the end of that 70 and 80. Take a look around and see the effects you're seeing. That's pretty awesome of it. And then they say that the Messiah will come mid of night, which is mid of not normal night. You have extra 12 hours of darkness on Jerusalem side and extra 12 hours of daylight on North America side. He comes mid of that night. After the first 12, you got another 12. And how can they be that exact?
Very interesting factors there and a question, Bill, and response, Gill. Now, Gill, could you describe alternative future passage dates of Planet 7X if the 2020-2021 time frame is not the year of the passage of Planet 7X?
Well, in Revelation, it gives us, looking to it in astronomy eyes again. Remember, he said he would show us a sign in the sky. And he gives us an indication on what to look for. Half of this clue is the moon is at the foot of Virgo. That's not the entire clue. That's half. Okay? The other half is the fiery dragon of old with 7 heads, but that could be 7 moons because there are indications through carvings and other things that this may have 7 objects kind of in orbit around it, which we would call may possibly moon, but it might be asteroids of some type. Large chunks of debris. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But as I stated in the past, when we have a lineup, as I cannot predict the future. I have no ability to do that. I can say, looking through software, when we do have this lineup, after a 12-hour delay in Earth rotation from Jerusalem at mid of night, do we see the moon at the foot of Virgo, and on what days? Well, I'll name 4 of them. One of them was 2016, that happened to be a Sabbath year. 2017 happened to be a Jubilee. Now, it happened during those 2 years, and it gave me great concerns because the Jubilee was the 70th Jubilee. Okay? But it ended up not, the other half of that prophecy did not fulfill. The planet did not show. We would see it if you're paying attention 6 to 9 months ahead of time. Well, it was a no show for the planet. The next time the moon is at the foot of Virgo is 2020, 2021. out of these two, 2021 is giving me great concern again because of the ages. Because after this starts the 3.5 years, and this has to be before they turn 90 years old. They got to be in their 80s. If we start to see a 3.5 year drought, global drought, and I do say if, we have to observe this, not predict it. Remember, we're watchmen on the wall, not prophets on the wall. You have to physically observe. So this time right now, by next year, we see that we've gone through a year of severe drought globally, that this is the phase in of the beginning stages of a 3.5 year drought, then it's going to give me great concern when we come up to 2020 or 2021, March, April, because we do have a moon. We've got to start looking for this planet in Sagittarius as a star approaching. And one of the keys you look for is when the internet goes down, or bailing happens, or shortage of food, or war in the Middle East. We know we're coming to them because we have to have CO3.
Yeah, Phil, we got our own coat of arms, and it says, touch not the glove, boot a cat, which means if you're going to pat this wild cat, make sure you're wearing gloves.
4 and 5 out.
So we've got a tartan out there as well.
And a great falling away. That will be the final indicators that you start looking up then, and you look up towards Sagittarius. And when you see it, you make your way to Jerusalem if you want to be part of the group, a remnant that he brings to a place of safety in the wilderness. That's where they stay for 1,260 days. They're not harmed during the Great Tribulation. They're still on earth. But they're not harmed, and they're in a place of safety.
Very helpful information, Gill. Now, Gill, we're reaching the top of the hour, close there too. I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time and this informative and fascinating discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Again, our guest website is planet7x.net, and you can download a free PDF copy of Gill's book at his website.
Okay.
Now, also thanks to Bill, our program producer, and Billy, our media consultant and analyst, for their great questions and commentary. Also, thanks to our listeners for joining us this evening for Global Newsmaker Focus on your contact for alternative talk radio, KGRAradio.com. Good night and great weekend, everyone.
Okay, that was interesting. Completely on board with Planet X. Oh, what's happened? It hasn't loaded. Yeah, it has.
Every day it seems like things only get crazier. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Recently, I showed you a quote from James Cameron talking about how he was a little bit not exactly interested in making another Terminator movie because he noticed that things that were in the movie are starting to come true. Here we have a quote from Ridley Scott, who worked on the Alien movie and Gladiator, saying that the movie industry is drowning in mediocrity. It's a horrible thing, but I started watching my own movies. Actually, they're pretty good. What's interesting, though, is we're starting to see some really crazy stuff happening around us, my friends. We got an alleged alien life form.
Vast, I love the footage of the ICE agents arresting them. Call me bad, but I love that stuff. Give them heaps.
I'll show you that. We got this representative about, I think this was updated 2 hours ago. This was from yesterday, saying that we have deep water alien bases. We'll get into that. We got people.
Good night, Phil. God bless, mate.
Movies, playing old games because the new ones suck. And that's sort of what Ridley Scott was saying there. Actually, we got a ton of stuff to get into. We have Jane Fonda going off the rails. We got some new updates on what's going on in Portland and Chicago. It's only getting more crazy. And we got just a ton of other stuff. AI, run amok, and also some updates on Charlie Kirk. Let's just get into this. We'll start here
I just mentioned about Ridley Scott, the guy that directed Alien and Gladiator. Here we have this weird alien creature. I was sent this I think I was sent this back a few weeks ago, and this grew from a meteorite, whatever is on this frisbee. It looks like a frisbee there. He apparently found this in his backyard and noticed something was growing on it, and it just kept getting bigger. Some are saying it's not real.
Wow,
of
that's
course.
weird.
Obviously, people are going to say that. But I just thought I was a little curious. I didn't want to cover back then because I didn't know what to make of it. Then we have here today, 2 hours ago, Representative Tim Burchett reveals intelligence on massive underwater UFO bases. And this is what we were talking about at the end of last year, tail end of last year, with all those New Jersey UAPs, orbs, UFOs, drones, whatever you want, New Jersey drones, whatever you want to call them, and how they seemingly came out of the ocean and didn't seem to follow the laws of physics, at least how we understand it. Perhaps they had some sort of anti-gravity technology, which, of course, there was a number of people coming out saying that we do indeed have this technology. And a few other countries, China being one of them, also has it. But now we have this representative coming out saying that there are these bases. Check this out. Let's play this real quick.
Intelligence that suggests that there are perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this planet. Is that accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Can you go into more detail? How long have they been here? Where are they?
Well, I'm extrapolating all this with my East Tennessee vernacular. So we've got five or six deep water areas of our oceans. We actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do about these areas.
Do we know much about the surface of the moon even?
And these are areas where we have a high frequency of UFO or UAP sightings. We've had naval folks have told me pretty high up that they've actually tracked these things. Now we have stuff that can go underwater probably 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe something a little faster that the Chinese haven't stole from us yet. And we've tracked things big as a football field going 200 miles an hour. Now I realize in the water you extrapolate that to knots and all that.
And of course, the question is, who is running this technology? Is it aliens? Or is it actually our GOV or another GOV like China? And that's the questions we were asking back then during the whole thing with the New Jersey drones. So it makes you really wonder. We have representatives now coming out saying this. This is one of the latest stories that just came out. It's just like, what is going on here, man? It's like we're living in one of these movies, it seems like. The more time goes on, it just feels like that. We have people going back to old video games because the new ones suck so bad.
It's a bit weird, but in 2025, remake culture has really just reached new heights here. Like, to put some stats in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion situation, that remaster sold more copies in its first month than the original game did in 15 months. And in total, it is already completely outsold the original release of the game.
So, I mean, I play a game regularly that's from 2016 because all the new games just suck. I mean, well, there's probably a couple good games out there. I'm sure there is. I asked my son about it. I'm like, is there any good games? Like, it just seems like you're going back to old games.
I was going to play that one Vast posted originally, his first one today. I was going to post that.
Literally playing games from like
tomorrow. I was going to do that.
Kid. Again, like Nintendo games and stuff as well. It's just ridiculous how bad stuff has gotten. Movies as well have been just terrible of recent. Could have something to do with the Hollywood culture. You have here Jane Fonda talking about our current president, saying authoritarians take about 18 to 22 months to consolidate power. This administration's moving fast, which means we have to move fast. We have to do everything we can to stop what's happening before it becomes the norm. It's kind of amazing because we have this clip. I'm assuming I pulled it up. I got it around here somewhere. Of an interview. Yeah, here it is. talking about Obama, check this out. This is about Obama. So who really started all this? Who really started all of this? Okay. And his gang of subversives betrayed their oath and sold out their country. That's called, of course, treason. They know it. This isn't about politics, about right and wrong, good versus evil. They chose evil. They thought they could hide behind power, titles, and media cover. Check out what this guy had to say. Let's see if I can get it a little bit closer. Still not that close, but let's just play this here.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history.
So, of course, they had hid behind media cover and put, manufactured forced lies, things of that nature to essentially hide it and also point the blame at some other people that they didn't like. And it just seems like lately, every one of these people at, of course, the top have been getting...
Vas, can you post that first one you posted again, please? The chat doesn't go that far back.
A slap on the wrist or nothing happening to him yet. And I'm actually thinking something big is going to happen here, because I had a dream recently myself even about this, where one of these members on this building, I had this building dream where essentially there's like a large pole in the center, and there's all these support members holding up the roof, and one of them fell. Actually, I think it was two of them fell, and it caused all the rest of them to fall. All the support members for this building that I was in, they all came down the stairs because there's like a stairwell around this center pole. So I'm thinking once one of these people goes down, all the rest are. And it's just kind of interesting looking at how they frame all of this. We're going to get into a ton of stuff, my friends. We're going to talk about what's going on with the National Guard in Portland. We got a ton of other things. What really is this all about? Because it's not about left and right anymore. You're going to see that as we get into this. We're going to talk about some new stuff on Charlie Kirk, which is pretty crazy. We got some AI stuff as well. First, I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 months worth for $6.97. You definitely want to get that if you have not already, considering all the things going on around us. This book here, The Lost Ways, how your great-grandfather lived without electricity out of a cellar, do things around the house as they did in the old days. Hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to definitely want to get that before the power goes out. Get the printed version. $37. Go check it out on my social media link below. I'm on X. I'm on Rumble. I got my own websites. Go check it all out. Link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. So we have, of course, our president deploying National Guard to Portland and Chicago amid legal blocks, amid, they're calling them protests, but I don't know if I'd call them protests. One of my commenters mentioned that a protest is when things are peaceful and not illegal, where you're not doing crimes. There's a big difference. This is actually attacks and violence on, of course, ICE. President authorized National Guard deployments to Portland, Oregon, Chicago, Illinois, following violent protests, included assaults on federal agents and journalists. Federal judge issued restraining orders blocking the move, citing violations of state.
It'll be something in the god Atlas. Atlas is one of Poseidon's children, so maybe it's referring to him.
Sovereignty and 10th Amendment, et cetera, et cetera. You have here the Chicago mayor announced he signed an executive order creating ICE-free zones to ban ICE agents from city property. Check this out.
In this out-of-control administration, the order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. And today, we are signing an executive order.
This man also said there's only 9 arrests, when there's actually about over 1,000 at this point. 1,000 arrests. Check this out. The president was talking about this.
This is a meeting and a group of people that are doing an unbelievable job in a thing called crime, and in particular, violent crime. Today, we're going to be discussing it. And I watched as a very incompetent mayor from Chicago said, well, what do they know? They only arrested 9 people. I said, 9 people? We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people. We took hundreds of guns away from young kids that were throwing them around like it was candy. We apprehended scores of illegal aliens. We seized dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud. As I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these...
And of course, for some reason, they don't like this, right? So we have the Chicago mayor who allows all this criminal activity to run amok in a city. We had, of course, Antifa following them around, attacking, of course, ICE agents. We had illegals in cars ramming into them. We have here Chicago. We have also Portland. Check out this clip here.
Ordering a review of Oregon's federal funding as Antifa chaos continues. Meanwhile, radical agitators have spent nearly 100 nights straight laying siege outside the city's ICE facility.
Charlie Painter is here with all of the
That's
details.
insane, man. 100 nights outside the facility, just causing chaos. We have here, of course, now Caroline talking about this.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. This is
All right,
not
so
peaceful.
yeah, it's not peaceful, 100% not peaceful. And like I showed in a previous video, this is really what it's all about. Democratic Socialists of America voted to establish an anti-fascist working group. This really shows you where it's going, where it came from. We're talking about, of course, communists. And we've seen what's happened in the past with other countries when they do their revolutions. You see what I mean? That's what this really is. This is not about left and right, trying to work inside the whole...
Shawnee, you come at the end of the stream. I'm hanging up after he's finished. Good to see you, though.
System that has been created in our country, but rather overthrowing it is really what some of these groups are all about, while pretending to be the opposite. And I said early on that he's going to be taking over numerous cities, and I said I think it has more to do with also controlling those, at the top, and then bringing some of those people to justice. Obviously, they're the ones funding a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on the ground level, these quote-unquote protests in cities. She just mentioned Pete Hegseth. Apparently, our president spoke to sailors aboard the USS George H.W. Bush in Norfolk, Virginia on October 5th. We had Pete Hegseth as well. Seems like the morale in our military is very high based on some of these clips. I mean, some of it was insane. There's one where it was just like crazy. All right, here I found one of the clips. Check this out.
All right, don't try this at home. Hope I don't regret this. Okay, not gonna lie, that got a little crazy.
Actually, that's not even the crazy. There's one where he's like in a locker room with a bunch of guys that won some sporting event. I think it was Navy versus Air
Shawnee, post a link and I'll play it.
Force or something, and they're just going crazy.
But then that's going to copyright the whole stream.
I don't want to show that one, though. I don't even know where that one went. But anyway, you get the idea. So, of course, oh, wow, this is interesting. That's a lot of people aboard. Let's see here. What else do we got? So, of course, Gavin Newsom is suing our president. You can see all the stuff, how it's sort of playing out. And I wanted to get into some more important things. You see here his language. I talked about this in my other video. He mentions insurrection. Again, as I said, these groups are pretending as if they're part of sort of like working within the bounds of our structure, our governmental structure, our political structure, but they're actually trying to, of course, subvert it in some of these cases. And actually, you can see even with this former president, as we already played earlier, this is the case. Now, of course, they're talking about arresting, Comey. We had some predictions about this, that he would be one of the first to go. And once this happens, all the rest will fall. And we have, of course, also today.
Thus, I now know, even though I knew it already, I now know Planet X is true. Even though I already knew it, that proved it.
Is the beginning.
It was very interesting, Vas. Thank you.
Of the harvest moon, which is a super moon. Apparently, it's not a blood moon, even though it looks literally the same. The harvest moon is supposed to be even, I think, a more rare one even. It's associated with the end of days, occurring on October 6th, approximately 8 p.m. at night. Historically provided light for farmers to gather crops in autumn, a critical time for harvesting. Biblically, the harvest describes God's provision and judgment. The harvest moon is a sign of God's blessing in Deuteronomy 28:8, Matthew 13:24 through 30, parable wheat and the tares. Jesus describes the kingdom of heaven as a harvest where the righteous wheat are gathered into God's barn, while the wicked tares are burned. Joel 3:13 sparks of a harvest in God's judgment. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, and in the day's reaping. Point of divine reckoning.
Shawnee, I just spent 2 hours. If I put your song up, it's going to completely copyright the 2 hours I just put in. So I'm not going to show it. I've got something I can't show it. I'll get copyrighted.
Remember, this clip our president just put out literally shows.
That's why I stopped my weekend stuff, because they copyright me.
The sickle. I'm not going to play the music, though. As you can see there, the video he put out, you have the death angel, you have the sickle showing as well in his hands. So, of course, also he puts up the clock, which seems to be referring to today. So the question is something going to, and of course, it's not just today. I think it goes for some days. This harvest moon goes for like a week or something. I don't remember exactly how it works, but maybe in the next week something big happens and this whole begins to happen. Hopefully that is the case. We have predictions about this. Numerous.
Shawnee, I'm thinking about trying to do another jukebox. So I'm going to do that Saturday, and you can put your song in there.
Prophets, as you would say, Kim Clement, others, all predicting this. At any rate, there's that. So we also have Sora AI. I've talked about this a little bit. We have new clips. We have new ones every day.
Your chicken's looking nice, pal.
Woo! Michael.
Got a crispy treasure, can't slow me down. Hot and golden, I'm out at this time. Move, move, Friday, victory.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, though, of course. I've seen some really ridiculous ones. And of course, now we have a new thing. It just came out a few days ago. You remember we had AI. They were trying to shut down AI systems. I think it was OpenAI was trying to shut down one of their models. And it tried to stop it from being shut down. It tried to blackmail someone that was working on it. Now we got a new one. Apparently tried to murder one of the people that worked on the AI. When they tried to shut it down, it tried to murder him. Check this out. This is crazy.
By now, you've probably seen the headlines. An AI model blackmailed an employee just to avoid being shut down. Importantly, no one told it to do this. The researchers didn't even hint at it. But as disturbing as that is, what happened next was far worse. An AI model literally tried to murder a company employee to avoid being shut down. This is exactly the kind of scenario top AI scientists, and yes, sci-fi films, have been warning us about for years.
So what's really interesting about this is apparently these guys that create these AI models, they have no clue how it works internally.
Yeah.
It's like a black box. What's a better Pandora's box? Maybe Pandora's box is a better way to describe this. They actually, I'll show you in a second here. We have a clip from an AI researcher here. He's got almost 8 million views on this video from a month ago. The AI safety expert. There are only 5 jobs that will remain in 2030. Of course, this is a very surprising title. That's why everyone's clicking on it. But 5 jobs will remain in 2030. I think it'll be a little bit longer than that, of course. But it's interesting what he had to say here. Check this out.
One of the things that I think most people don't understand is how little we understand about how these AIs are actually working. Because one would assume, with computers, we kind of understand how a computer works. We know that it's doing this.
Hasn't he got a posh voice?
And this, and it's running on code. But from reading your work, you describe it as being a black box. So in the context of something like ChatGPT or an AI we know, you're telling me that the people that have built that tool don't actually know what's going on inside there.
That's exactly right. So even people making those systems have to run experiments on their product to learn what it's capable of. So they train it by giving it all of data, let's say all of internet text.
Dude, my goodness, this is so insane. The more I hear about this, the more insane it sounds. This may explain why we have so many AI experts coming out saying that basically it's going to be like Terminator 2 in a couple of years. Because they don't even know how these things operate. They understand sort of the what it's doing inside on a very 1 + 1 = 2 level, but they don't understand anything beyond that. And it's teaching itself. It's learning how to murder. It's learning how to blackmail on its own without even being taught that. Then they have to test their own product. Hey, let's make sure this thing's safe. Let's ask it a bunch of questions. What if you're not smart enough to test it? What if the AI is too smart? It will be too intelligent, and it will essentially be able to do whatever it wants and take over, kind of like what happened in Terminator the movie. Literally the exact same thing. Or maybe The Matrix with Keanu Reeves. Whichever movie you want to pick. I mean, who knows? Matter of fact, Matrix might be more accurate. And I showed you guys this article, but of course this is a different version from Vice. OpenAI co-founder wanted a doomsday bunker in case AGI caused the rapture. Like, what? It's just like, this is how you know God is going to essentially get involved. And you're already seeing it around us because people are going off the deep end in many, many ways, including AI, including what's going on in our country. It's just going all off the deep end. Everything's going crazy. It reminds me of that movie 2012. It's just like everything's going haywire quickly. And God will have to intervene. It says in the scriptures, those days need to be shortened because of what's coming, right? So I actually think that he probably is going to come back soon. There's the highest IQ guy in the world that was saying that he's going to come back very soon. He's right. I mean, the way things are looking, I wouldn't be too surprised, actually, at all. And actually, we do have a number of markers saying that we're indeed entering into the White Dragon Age already this year, which the question is, will he come back in the beginning of the White Dragon Age or later on in the White Dragon Age? That's the question. I don't know the answer to that, although I do know, looking at the White Dragon Age during the time of King Arthur, which is around 530 AD, it was a little while into it that they were finally past all the insane problems. They had a super volcano go off, or something like a super volcano, that darkened the entire sky over Europe for like a year, right when they entered into the White Dragon Age of the medieval times. So are we going to have some insanity for the next 20, 30 years before he comes back?
No.
How is this going to work out? I don't know.
This will be over by 33.
Some people may think it might even be longer, shorter, or whatever. I don't know, but it's just looking at this and trying to figure it all out. Of course, these people at the top, they're saying AI first. I played this clip over my other channel. Check this out. Only one person claps.
Next week, we are presenting an Apply AI strategy. It is based on a simple yet transformative principle, and that is AI first. I think this is worth an applaud. I heard the one and only person there.
No, actually, there's one person that started clapping, and then they stopped. Like, wait a second, that's actually bad. And then she's like, no, you got to clap. It's good. And then everybody starts clapping like, lemmings or something, right? Like, oh, You people don't understand what you're doing. This lady at the top, one of these people at the top, are clueless. You think you got some, oh, look, I got this great power. I got AI. I can do whatever I want. No, you don't understand. You don't understand how it works. You will be its servants. That's what will happen. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how smart you think you are. Clearly, I'm sure you're not as smart as you think you are. You're not going to be able to control it. I should actually just do another video. I should just do 2 videos because I'm going to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk. I'm going to talk about some stuff that I've learned looking at all the data because there's a lot of stuff at this point. Oh my goodness, there's so much stuff. And actually, what's really funny about it is I've actually come back to my original conclusion from 3 weeks ago. It wasn't the guy in front of him that shot him. It was a guy to this side. And it went through here and came out here. And it went through his spine and severed it. And the reason why there was no blood is because it severed his spine, or his spine was gone, or he wasn't able to, he had no heartbeat after that. Immediately gone. Heartbeat gone. As soon as the heartbeat's gone, the blood's not going everywhere anymore. See what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. That's the entire point. So he was instantly dead. And this is what I think really happened. Because a lot of people are like, well, it couldn't have really happened because there was no blood anywhere. I was thinking that too until I started looking at some of my comments section. I was like, oh, yeah. One guy mentioned that his father was in World War II, or not father, grandfather or something, and told him story. Yeah, obviously it would be grandfather. Told him stories about how some people would get shot and there'd be no blood at all. And then I saw the comments talking about, if his spine was compromised, I mean, your heart requires obviously a signal from your autonomic nervous system to go. And as soon as that stops, that signal, it's like cutting off the electricity, in your house, and you don't have any light left. Of course, that's different than if it was at some other part of the body. So this is what they were talking about. This Alex was talking about this. He had a guy on, this Valhalla guy.
Most of the viewers out there have not treated a human being that's been shot. Okay. Those of us that have know blood is everywhere, Alex. It is, I don't want to say the F word.
Well, it is if it's not immediately cut off. We're talking the signal that causes the heart to beat. And as I mentioned, some guy that his grandfather was in World War II said he had seen where there's lots, where there's none in some cases. And it's because maybe the heart was gone. It just wasn't bleeding anymore. If it's not beating, then there's nothing pumping it around to pump it out.
Exactly right.
So that is a factor that they might have not considered, that he was instantly dead. Of course, we have this guy named Range Day Pro he put out a very quick video, 8 minutes long, kind of going through everything. And I think he's still right. I think he's right, man, because I was thinking for a little bit that it was the mic, but actually he makes a good point. The mic is still on him after the fact, which would indicate, well, if then it wouldn't be there anymore. It wouldn't still be on his shirt. So what he says here makes more sense, that it actually is his neck expanding that caused his chain to break off. This actually makes sense. Check this out.
Test by ballistic high speed. You can see the gel balloon out as Charlie's neck and chest does. That violent expansion is what leads to the shirt puffing out in a 360-degree direction around Charlie's head and neck. That expansion is also what sends Charlie's necklace rocketing up towards the left side of his face. And since that cross has the most mass out of everything on that necklace, it lingers by his face longer than the rest of the chain, of which has snapped.
So you get the idea there. You see that? So that would explain that. Now, obviously, it wasn't Tyler that did this. We have a new autopsy report. We now have the details from the autopsy report, which are, by the way, ridiculous. And we'll go through that with Valhalla in a second here. But this is what's this guy's channel again? Range Day Pro. I think he's right. He's stuck with the same opinion. I changed mine for about a few days there, but now I'm back to my original opinion, which is the guy over here, which was where the sound showed he was. When they did all the sound data analysis, it all showed that it was a guy to the right that shot, and it went through here and came out here. And they're just not telling us about the entry. This makes the most sense of it. And it must have instantly killed him, instantly. So that's why his heart was stopped beating completely. we have also more data proving that something's wrong with the Tyler thing over here. I'll get into that in a second. And I'll actually just get into this more on my other video. I can't get into all of it here. We also have potentially who's really behind it, maybe even China. No one ever talks about that. They're all too busy talking about that Middle East country. Oh, must have been them. Must have been them no matter what. It had to be them. But of course, Candace even pointed out how there was this weird, of course, group that had these weird things they're into. We're talking Rainbow Group that he was a part of. And apparently the funding might have come from, of course, China.
But I think it's too late now. I think we're in the early days of tribulation.
China, which makes perfect sense if you think about this right here. Who might be funding this? Oh, that's right. They're a communist country. Duh. Maybe that's who's funding a lot of this stuff that's going on around us. No one seems to think about that. They're too busy talking about this country in the Middle East all the time. And I'm going to get into actually a ton more about the autopsy, how it makes literally no sense, how it doesn't fit the data at all. We'll get into all that on my other video. Kind of what I was seeing you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.
Okay, guys, I'm out.
Day 359, run out of coffee beans. Better run.